Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. About 4 months ago now, I added my opinion to the argument that reward vehicles should not be available inside the ranked game mode. The video ended up being quite popular, and while there were quite a few people who disagreed with the idea that they shouldn't be allowed to use reward vehicles inside a ranked game mode, I think the majority of the community kind of got behind the idea. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was absolutely ecstatic when Wargaming announced that for their 2020 to 2021 series of ranked battles, that all of the reward vehicles will not be available for participation. And the result is that I've been having more fun playing ranked, I think, than I've ever have done. And that's because you see more matchups like this. You see more matchups without overpowered reward vehicles. There's no Object 907s, there's no Object 279Es, and especially there's no FV 4201 Chieftains. The reason why they were so much breaking the system is because you're in competition to try and get the top 3 spots. If you get one of the top 3 spots, you get 2 chevrons instead of 1 on the winning team. And if you're on the losing team and you finish first, you still get a chevron, whereas pretty much everybody else on your team will lose a chevron, which is what you really want to avoid when you're playing ranked battles. And you are having to compete with those overpowered tanks on your team as well as the enemy team to be able to gain those chevrons. And so now they're actually out of the system, you feel like it's a lot more fair. You don't see the Object 279E just sitting completely out in the open, doing a lot of bouncing. Also, if you put it in the right position, doing a lot of spotting as well, and just grinding out the tanks, and feeling that you have to fire high explosive rounds at the vehicle to do any kind of damage, which lowers your overall damage per minute, right? Those vehicles aren't constantly taking the number 1 spot on the losing team, and there aren't any of them to be able to take one of the top 3 spots on the winning team. So it's all in all a fairer system. So much so that I've actually been playing my free-to-play account, and I haven't fired any gold rounds so far on it, and that I've managed to get, I think, into Division 2. I did my 20 placement games, finished the third division I think it's called, and so I'm in the 2nd division now. I'm going to be playing some more on the stream today of it. And I haven't used any premium consumables. Now, while of course I probably would have done better if I was loading gold and if I was firing premium, well, if I was using premium consumables as well. But it hasn't really felt as if I'm so frustrated that I can't progress. As long as I still play well, I feel like there's a good opportunity for, well, it's fairer than ever is what I'm saying. And considering that for your first 20 placement games, you get a 1 million credit reward, even if you don't have a premium account, that kind of works out at, 50,000 credits per game. And so if you do have any kind of tier 10 tank lurking around your garage, and you play 20 battles, and you don't use loads of premium consumables, and you don't fire loads of gold rounds, you're still going to make at least about 800,000 credits out of that million after you resupply your tank those 20 times. And I'm not suggesting you should go in and just run it down. Please don't do that. Go in and play. Go in and see what it's like. And I found what I'm feeling is like, what have you got to lose? Now is a better time than ever to play ranked battles. And with that 1 million credits for your first 20, well, at least complete the first 20 and see if you like the game mode. And if you don't, well, you've got a cool million and you can go and spend that on some equipment for one of your vehicles, or you could buy some kind of new tier 6 or tier 7 tank with it. And so ranked battles, I think it's really made a huge difference that the reward vehicles are not in the game. And I'd like to give a massive thank you to Wargaming for listening to the community. And I'm happy to what I added to the argument as well, because I think this is a really good step towards creating what I think could be one of the greatest game modes in World of Tanks. Now, I still don't think that it's quite in the correct position. I think there are still lots of issues with the disparity between vehicles, but at least it's been hugely reduced. What kind of disparities am I talking about? I'm talking about the difference between a new player who maybe has 1 or 2 crew skills on their vehicle and the veteran player who has 4, 5, 6, and sometimes even 7 skills on each one of their crew members. That can make up a tremendous difference. For example, on my 60 TP, which I've been playing a lot of in ranked, if I've got situational awareness and recon, I believe, on the commander, then that's going to just get me an additional 5% overall view range, and if I can see my opponents and they can't see me, that's a pretty big advantage. Other vehicles that I've been playing a lot of are the Progetto 65. When I say that, I've actually only got 3 tier 10 tanks on my free-to-play account. I've got the Stridsvagn 103B, which I've actually been having some of my better games in the vehicle. I've got the 60 TP, and I've got the Progetto 65. And I feel like all of them, I'd say the 60 TP is probably the more competitive out of those 3 vehicles. I think that it just suits the heavy tank meta of getting into position and firing a lot of high explosive rounds at otherwise hull-down targets that you couldn't pen even with gold ammunition on the tank. And you can do some seriously massive trading. The Progetto is more of a vehicle that you want to try and use to get to the front aggressively early on, and then once you feel that the front, if it turns into a stalemate in a situation like this, then you can play a support role at long range. The main difference on my free-to-play account, however, is just I miss more. I don't fire the gold. I would probably be loading gold on my main account in this situation, and I can shoot pretty much the entirety of the hull of these heavy tanks. I actually have to snipe for weak points on this vehicle, on this account. And more importantly, just not using those premium consumables makes you more susceptible to crew damage. Quite often I've lost 2 crew members, which has really held me back. And also just, all of the crew skills that I'm lacking on this tank. But more importantly, the damage per minute. Using a premium consumable will reduce your reload by basically 5%. And that is absolutely tremendous on this tank. Another thing I don't have on this account will be all of the different bounty gun rammers, the bounty vertical stabilizers, the bounty coated optics, the bounty vents, the things that just give you that extra little bit of edge. And so compared my free-to-play account compared to my main account, I'm pretty much playing 10% under. Everything about my tank is pretty much 10% worse on this account than it is on my main account. That's pretty brutal, because often it's that 10% that allows you to reload before the enemy team. It's that 10% that allows you to be able to outspot them. It's that 10% that allows you to have that little bit of extra accuracy to be able to hit the enemy's weak point and to maybe use your mobility to be able to avoid their shells entirely. And that is what I will be highlighting in my post-game discussion about how I would like to see rank taken to a whole new level altogether. But for now, let me talk about the gameplay at hand here and how we're doing some absolutely tremendous work from this incredible position that I didn't realize was just so powerful. Now, of course, we're in a very interesting situation here. Do you notice that the enemy team just are not capping? I guess that's because they're all trying to compete for the top slots. Imagine if the STB-1 on the enemy team had just gone and capped now and they weren't all coming back to try and finish us off and try and get as much experience as they possibly could. We'd be in a much worse situation. So we're going to fire 1 into the turret of the 60, 2 into the hull, and we actually low roll there, although it doesn't make a big difference because we needed to do an extra 200 damage to him anyway, even if we have high rolled. And we clutch 1 into the 277 as well, now rounding off 5,700 damage, 1,600 spotting. And I've managed to claw my way back into this game, and so now it's just completely even. It's 2 tanks and an artillery against each other. Well, I've got to be careful though, because we haven't spotted that STB-1 in a while. I'm also quite concerned at the fact that the enemy might double cap. If they get the STB-1 and the artillery into the cap circle like they should be doing, then it's going to be incredibly tricky for us. This IS-7 sitting there, I'm hoping that my Object 261 is going to be able to splash him. And this is really where I probably should consider loading gold on this tank. If I fired gold here, I could fire down onto the hull armor of the IS-7. I would be able to get him. But it's become more of a, can I actually manage to finish ranked on the free-to-play account without actually firing any gold rounds at all? So I'm doing it as a bit of a challenge for myself as well. I have to see whether I get incredibly frustrated towards the upper divisions where I'm playing against the best players. And whether I do decide to load some premium rounds, some gold rounds, whatever you want to be calling them later on. So I decide that the STB-1 is going to be going after my TVP, and I can't sit there and just deal with the IS-7. Even if I was going to take a shot, I had to fall back, because to all intents and purposes, this STB-1 is going to finish off my TVP, and then he's probably going to be able to finish off my artillery as well. Now, the Object 261 is actually falling back, and the STB is in the dip. I have to just go after this guy. And the artillery actually one-shots the Object 261 with a flush shell. Okay, so right now we're in a 1 versus 3 situation. But luckily, all of the enemy tanks are on low hit points, and I've got my hit points. So we actually bounce 1 off his tracks at the side of his tank, but luckily, he doesn't manage to penetrate us either. And so that means that I can actually take a hit from the artillery, or alternatively, I can take a hit from the IS-7, and that would be a huge advantage for me. I use the mobility of the Italian medium tank to avoid the artillery, And now think about, where would the IS-7 be? What would the IS-7 be doing? And I was worried that they were both going to get back towards my cap circle, so that's the place that I wanted to secure first. I'm thinking the IS-7, if I was him, I would probably be trundling along here towards the progetto, or alternatively, I might be trying to use some of these bushes towards the center of the map. And so you can see that's where I've got my turret facing, even when we are having a look around. And there he is. There's the IS-7 right below us. I expect to be spotted. And then you see, whoa, my sixth sense didn't go off. Okay, I have the opportunity to get the IS-7. And so right now I'm thinking, where does he think that I'm coming from? Because that will be the direction that he's looking. And if I was the IS-7, I would probably think that I was towards their base, maybe in the bushes. And so I thought that I'd have an opportunity to be able to get an ambush off on his side. And there you go. We actually do. We fire down onto his hull. I think it actually went slightly low and actually hit the side armor of that vehicle. And we finish off the IS-7. Now it's about using some evasive maneuvers to be able to avoid the artillery. And I think I've got 4 minutes and 41 seconds left. What is the plan? Do we actually go after the artillery right now? Or should we force him to come to us by going into the cap circle? Very interesting that when you do play World of Tanks well inside ranked, it looks like your team actually are very happy. So somebody called the Stifler guy proposed to me during this game. Unfortunately for you, my friend, I've been married for 5 years, but I'll keep it as a backup, you know. I'll write it down on the backup list, totally. The Stifler guy. Okay, I'll have to remember that one. Goodness gracious. So right now, I want to try and get towards the cap circle. That's what I want to do, and I'm actually going to joke. Can I tell the guy? Sorry, guys, married 5 years. Okay, hopefully I can just keep calm and be able to carry this one. So I decided to actually reload high explosive rounds as I enter the cap circle now, because the HE rounds on this tank, they could manage to roll high enough to be able to one-shot the Bat Chatillon 155-58. And remember, he's actually got an autoloader as well, so he can fire 2 shots within 10 seconds. So if I do manage to get some bad luck, or even I manage to miss some of the shells, then maybe these high explosive rounds will do me proud. But there's also one other reason why I would want to load those high explosive rounds. Can you guess what it is? Well, we'll be finding out in a second. Alright, artillery fires 1 shot. So this is a very interesting situation. Do you go and sit where he last fired, because Thunder doesn't shoot twice? And you can see that I'm thinking about it. But I've decided that if he's going to shoot there, then he's going to probably shoot at the same distance. But here's why I do have high explosive in this tank. If I shoot there, where do you think the 3rd blind shell is going to go from the auto-loading self-propelled gun? Right there! Yep, I was pretty happy with that moment as well. I was pretty happy about that moment. Just those are the kind of little advanced tactics that you can use in these end game stressful situations. By firing the high explosive round there, we were able to destroy the box. The artillery thought that we had run it over with our tank and decided to blind fire. And that means, with his huge reload, that he is going to be unable to find he's going to be unable to reload in time to be able to blind fire us again, and he decides to enter the cap circle. I guess what he's thinking is, hey buddy, maybe you want to decap and come and find me? Yeah, right, bro. I'm not going to play kissy chase with some turreted self-propelled gun that can go away that long. This is ranked, right? We're playing to win. And I know with a result like this, with 6,000 damage and 1,600 spotting, that we were destined to finish #1 in experience and take down that juicy double chevron. So, a 1 versus 3 situation 1, although I did have hit points and the enemy didn't have many. But it's still about doing the right thing in the right situation and just using every little advantage. And by firing no premium rounds in this game and not taking too much damage on my tank, even if I wasn't using a credit booster, as I was at this time that I managed to receive from participating in one of Wargaming's events, I would have still made a decent profit. I would have made nearly 16,000 credits without a premium account. But luckily, I actually played these games from the first day that I got free from managing to pass through the divisions. And so ranked, it's more rewarding than ever, it's fairer than ever. And just a heads up that if you want to get yourself the Concept 1B, which is a tier 9 American reward heavy tank, then you're going to have to play it in all 3 of the seasons. And the minimum amount of points that you're going to have to achieve if you want to get this is to get through the first 2 divisions. So you're going to have to play 20 placement games, and then you're going to have to play pretty well to be able to get up into the first division, but you don't actually have to complete the first division, because all you need is 3 tokens 3 times to be able to get the advanced reward and to be able to get the tank and a nice couple of bounty equipment. Now, while undoubtedly removing the reward vehicles from ranked has made it a fairer experience than ever, and it's a better opportunity for a larger number of the player base to be able to get inside the game mode, because you're not going to be meeting overpowered tanks at least as often. But Wargaming, I would suggest that take a look at the results, see if more people are playing ranked than ever, and consider the possibility of perhaps creating a purer ranked game mode where everybody gets to use the same consumables. Everybody gets access to the same ammunition. Everybody gets access to the same pieces of equipment, and even the crew skills, i.e. everybody is the same. Surely this should be a game mode where it comes down to your player skill rather than the fact that you just have access to bounty equipment and the other player doesn't, so that you can see further than them or you can even fire faster than they can. Is that not what we want as players? We want the system, in my opinion, to be fair for all, level for all, so we can actually see if we are any good. And I truly believe that that is one of the things that stops World of Tanks, especially at tier 10, becoming more popular than it already is. It's just impossible to be able to go in with your regular tech tree tanks and duke it out against people who have got 6-7 crew skills, they've got premium consumables, they've got better equipment than you. Wargaming, if you want more of your regular player base to play your more exceptional game modes that usually only the dedicated players make, then surely it would make sense to try and address some of the disparities between your players that I truly believe are preventing players from succeeding inside them, or even just trying to participate in the first place because they're getting frustrated. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this round. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, however, make sure you give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as is released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase, live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And tomorrow, considering that the big boy Alpha FV4005 Stage 2 is going to be top of the tree or to the top on the American server, and you can get it at a meaty discount, I don't think there's been a better time than to showcase the entirety of the British turreted tank destroyer tech tree. And so come along right now so you can see what you've got to look forward to grinding tomorrow or purchasing at a discount, so you can get some tips and tricks for making your way up the tech tree. Or if you already have all the tanks, then maybe you can come and just laugh at me derping some of the vehicles with 1,750 alpha damage at tier 10. Yeah, it should be pretty good. Anyway, really looking forward to seeing you all right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.